All right, and here is the video review for the Action Toys Machine Robo Revenge of Kronos. This is the DX Bike Robo. He's a larger version of their Bike Robo figure with a few improvements, a few changes, and some similar engineering in a few ways to the smaller figure, which you can see right here. Again, you can see the blues are slightly different. Instead of the pale blue on the legs, the red's a little brighter, the blue's a little darker. The silvers are more silvery versus the dark gray of the original. The exhaust pipes back here are chrome. And there's a few other changes as well, but some very similar transformation bits here going on. And just for the fun of it, I actually had to go up in the attic to dig this one out. I looked out in the shed and it wasn't out there, and I'm like, oh, right in the attic. So I made a perilous trek into the attic this afternoon and pulled out my old Super GoBot Cycle, because he's the American counterpart to the Machine Robo series. So I really wanted, as soon as this guy showed up, I really wanted to make sure I had the Super GoBot Cycle, and I went dig. I'm like, I knew I hadn't gotten rid of it, and I had to go digging for it, but I found it with really very little loss of limb. So just to show him off with the previous, so here's the standard Machine Robo Action Toys Bike Robo. Here is this GoBot Super Cycle from back in the 80s, and then here is the new DX Bike Robo from Action Toys. And just since we're doing motorcycles, just for the fun of it, and because he's sitting here, here he is with an unrustable. Since we're doing all the motorcycles together, just to give you an idea. If you picked up an unrustable, there you go. There you have an idea of how big they're. Oh, no, don't knock him over. This guy is next to him. Don't worry, you'll see an unrustable video review when my purple one shows up. So anyway, on to Bike Robo himself, the DX version here. And what you're looking at right now is what I'm calling full bike mode. I turned away to look at something else and tapped the screen again. What I'm calling the full Bike Robo, and that means that I've got all the accessories specifically for the motorcycle mode on. And what I mean by bike accessories here is that he's fully transformable with all of his robot parts on. But here are his standard robot hands with posable fingers, but you can see they don't close all the way. So I have swapped them out in bike mode. You can, which is, well, oh, that's that. Let me pick that up real quick. You can see now he's got the full circle hands that look more like part of the bike. You'll also notice he has no face under here because there's a blank face plate you can stick in there. He is fully transformable with both robot parts and or bike parts. Like I said, this aesthetically just makes him look a little, or visually look a little more like a complete motorcycle that doesn't turn into a robot. I mean, you know it does, but it hides the face and it completes the circle around the wheel. As you can see, like if I had this one on, it would not go all the way around as a circle. But one of the things that worked, like sometimes that would slip out, but it's not just pegged in here into the wrist. When you unpeg this, there's actually very clever some little posts on each side of the wheel that fit into his wrist, so that's what holds it together. His hand does grab around this post, but it also locks in here at just above the wrist. So either way, like here, I'll actually just go ahead and pop off one of these hands. They just snap off like this. There's little friction pegs. And if I were to give him this hand like that, it could grab onto the bike as well as go right into the... So as you can see, you can still transform him with his standard hands on, and it would still stay in place just fine. It doesn't come loose because it's tabbed in up here, which is really neat. And then the same thing's going on back here on the back. The wheels are interchangeable. His kickstand is not removable, unlike the smaller one. It folds up, and it only folds one way. There's a little piece of instructions that tell you this, but don't try to fold it up and around this way, only in the middle of the transformation process, because you can flip it up here in bike mode if you don't want to use it. But while you're transforming the legs back into legs, you can fold this up and around in here to fit inside the leg, but don't try to fold it up this way or you'll end up One, it'll probably rip through the plastic and pop off, but you also don't want to scuff this all up. But you will meet some resistance once you get about to over here. So we'll go ahead and leave that hand on, and we'll go ahead and start transforming him to his robot mode. And we'll do that. We'll go ahead and start. Let's kind of untab the legs. You'll see some similar bits to the smaller version. And untab these, and then, like I said, just same back here, the posts that come off the wheels. There's a hole here in his leg, as well as a slot on each side here for the tab. So with that, these pieces are going to fold in. Like I said, while this is going in, you can go ahead and fold that in. Like that. The foot comes out and around, similar to the smaller one, but not the exact same mechanism. Flip the foot down, bring the leg down. Now this one, on this side, you want to be careful. You want to watch that this is positioned in such a way that it kind of goes between, because these don't rotate like they did on the smaller one. So it needs to go between this hinge and this exhaust pipe. And it's, as long as you're paying attention, it's not difficult. There's just enough clearance for it. And then flip this panel down and flip that panel down to kind of complete the lower leg here. Same thing on this side, although a little easier because you don't have to worry about that kickstand getting in the way. So you're going to bring the foot down, rotate it out, fold this down, fold this down, and then the little panels here. Straighten the legs. Now you see the legs are off center here. Again, there's a warning panel on. There's a little sheet of paper that comes with some warning panels about stuff. The kickstand and these leg pieces. Because when you first get it, he comes in robot mode. And these pieces actually just slide to the side, like that. You don't rotate them. Because when you just see the slide, you're thinking like, oh, do I rotate this around because it looks kind of like one of those angled rotational joints? Don't do that. Make sure that when you're transforming him to go to bike mode, just slide it in. And then going back to robot mode, snap it back out. The whole piece doesn't go around like the small one, but the two side flaps do. And they're on a dual hinge. They rotate this way for transformation, and then they can move forward to allow the legs some more movement. Right here like that. But fold those in. And then his lower half is done. Come up here to the front. Again, we'll go ahead and unpeg the wheel. And we'll go ahead and replace his other hand here. Go ahead and lift this up a little bit so we can get the upper half of the robot here in frame. So you come here. These pieces do not remove like they do on the smaller one. They stay on his shoulders. So these pieces come out, kind of lift up and out on this hinge from the center. So fold them down like that. This assembly, these panels right here, fold down the handles. You can see there's a little tab here that these are going to tab into. And then the centerpiece, much like on the smaller version, collapses down for the head. And then you take this, you want to make sure you support it from back here, because it can get a little resisted and bend a little bit, so you want to make sure you support the back of the red piece as you snap the arm into place. Rotate the arms at the bicep joint so that elbows face forward. They only bend one direction, and then rotate the fist so it's facing the proper way. And again, he's got posable fingers. He's got his thumb, an index finger, and then the rest of his hand is all individually posable there on the hands. Wrist swivel, obviously, because of the joint. Now you notice he has no face, and that's the wheels. You can put the pegs can go in any direction. They're magnetic. They kind of peg in, but they also magnet into place and are very secure, which is nice. Having it at an angle there didn't help, but they're not infallible, but there is a nice magnet to hold those in place so they don't go missing. So like I said, he's missing his face. This is the face plate, and he comes with several replacement faces, and to use them, you just push on his headlight, and that they don't all eject quite that vehemently. But he's got a little magnet on each of his face plates, and then when you push this down, there's a little silver piece here in the behind the faceplate that pops it out, so you can swap it out easily. So pop out his blank one and pop in his machine Robo face, and there he is. He's done. He's got a head swivel. It's kind of on a ball joint, but it's more of just a swivel. He's got the hinge at the shoulder in both directions. Wheel spin. The bicep swivel. They got multiple hinged elbows so he can fold his arms all the way up, which is nice. You saw the fingers and the wrist swivel here. He does have a waist swivel. A little bit of an ab crunch. Actually, a lot of an ab crunch there. Legs. Front to back, ratcheting side to side. I do wish there were a ratchet between this and straight up and down. But he doesn't look bad in either of those poses. He's not quite bow-legged, but he's just on the verge of wide. I think he's got thigh swivel, hinge knees to a little past 90, and then foot swivel and toe swivel in both directions. So yeah, nice, posable, fun, big rubber tires, a cool, larger adaptation of Machine Robo, Bike Robo. He also has the ability, you can swap out his fists, and you get 2 of these for some power blasts to make him look like he's shooting blasts out of his hands. That's kind of cool. Very neat effects. And of course, what you've all been waiting for, being the basis of modern, not modern, but American GoBots. This guy, Bike Robo, became Psykill, the evil renegade leader here in the States. And of course, since he has these swappable faces. Now, these are all the faces I got. I got the faceplate, the plain faceplate, the one standard Machine Robo face, and then 3 different Psykill faces. There's kind of a smirky face, an angry face, and then just kind of a generic stoic face. But make him look like Psykill. That's kind of cool, and we'll show those off. Also, and I watched the GoBots cartoon. It's not one that I watched again and again like I did with Transformers. I remember the theme song and all that. I had a lot of GoBot toys. I don't know if, and I haven't seen Machine Robo, so I don't know which one this is from, or if this is just an interesting little side piece that they included on their own. But this little dude, you can snap any of the faceplates into, so you can have a little companion robot, either wearing Psykill's face or a Machine Robo face. Actually, you know what? Oh, there it is. Nope. Yeah, there you go. No. Machine Robo face doesn't fit in there securely, so I feel like it's intended for Psykill faces, but whatever. Anyway, let's show off all of the Psykill faces, because I know that's what people are desperately curious about in this one. I mean, the toy itself is a lot of fun. There's a lot of improvements from the smaller version, aside from some of it just not feeling as delicate for being larger. But there he is with his standard Psykill face. Just kind of a stoic. And these faces are a little harder. They don't pop out quite as easily as the other faces do. You kind of have to really pop that button, and even then, there we go. Get it just lined up right to pop out easily. Here he is with his angry face. His teeth showing face. Smack it. And then here he is with this kind of smirk face. But neat of them to include it. Like I'm pretty sure like they only have the license for Revenge of Kronos. So these are kind of a little bonus to have the American Psykill faces, which is cool. I'd like to see a Leader 1 in this size class to evoke the old Super GoBots in this size class. Because these really are essentially the Super GoBots to the modern day Machine Robo GoBots that we've been getting. And I know they're not GoBots, another Machine Robo, but come on. Let's be real here. And as such, we'll go ahead and leave this Psykill face on for time now. Here he is with his smaller counterpart from the Machine Robo line. And again, you can really see the color difference. The red is a brighter red. The blue is a darker blue. The yellows are more orange. It really is, despite being a larger Machine Robo, it's not this deco. It really is kind of, it's Machine Robo, but it really is catering to those of us who grew up with Psykill. it fits his color scheme a little better, although he's a little kind of in between these two shades. And again, because I got him out, there he is with the Super GoBot Psycho. So you can see even then, bigger too, more posable and bigger. And one of the things that, like this one for the time, I really liked Super GoBot Psycho. And you can see I beat him up a lot. I played with him a lot. He had the unique solution of folding the wheels onto the back as the backpack, and then this whole assembly swung around. I've reviewed this guy if you want to go back and look at it. Which, if you had Psykill as a kid, you remember the way the wheels plugged in, they were small. Like much smaller than this one, and they were very easy to lose those wheels. So when I was younger, I missed the shoulder wheels, but I thought it was a genius solution that you really kind of couldn't lose the wheels on Super GoBot Psykill. That said, I don't think any of us are going to argue that this is not the superior version by far. He has that same kind of big, chunky feel. I really hope we see more DX of these guys, because I really dig this guy. Both, one, I like him with his standard Machine Robo face. I think that's a cool little kind of I'm a police cop or something like that. He's just it's a serious face, and it's cool. And I like that look. But with the Psykill faces, that's even cooler. I mean, like, that's... And like I said, and the figure itself, it's a fun transformation. It's not super difficult. I like that there's some accessory parts so that you don't have the hand gap without, like, on old Psykill, necessitating giant closed circle hands, because on this one he's got the open hands and they hold the wheels just fine, but there's still that gap in motorcycle mode. You can do that with this one. Like I said, you don't have to use any of these extra pieces. You can leave them in the box and transform them just fine. You'll see his face underneath the motorcycle, but it's not super obvious. And then you'll have the gaps in the hands, but he turns into a motorcycle just fine if you don't want to use them. But they are there to like make the motorcycle look a little cleaner if you wish. The blasts are kind of a bonus extra. I think that's cool. This little dude, like I said, no idea what's going on here, but he's kind of cute. But for just if you enjoy the smaller Machine Robo figures, you're really gonna dig this one. If you are a big fan of the old school GoBots, I can't express that any better. Sorry, I really have been having so much fun with this guy over the last couple of days, messing with him. And then, again, just real quick, now that we've got them all here on the table in robot mode, let's show them off with all the Machine Robo ones. One, also, just to give you an idea, since I don't have my old original Psykill anymore, but just to see with an old school GoBot, there he is with old school Leader 1. Actually, I should have grabbed Scooter. He's in there too, but oh well. But anyway, here he is with all of the other robots. And you see, Eagle Robo was a little bigger than the other ones originally anyway, the first line anyway, but just all the, who am I missing? Battle Robo, here we go. So there's all the ones I've got. As I mentioned in my other video, I don't have Mixer Robo or Blackbird Robo, and if I can find a place that, one, has both in stock, but Blackbird Robo especially has been difficult to track down, and it may just be that I haven't gone on an in-depth search. It's just the first few places I looked for Blackbird Robo, he was sold out. We'll get those reviewed. But there is my... Oh, make sure that Shuttle Robo gets in there. So there is the DX compared with all of the smaller Machine Robo figures that I've got. And like I said, these small guys are fun. Some of these guys are really neat and have some cool transformations. Missile Tank Robo was a big impressing figure that showed up in the last couple of days. But DX Bike Robo is... chef's kiss. I mean, I really am enjoying him. He's less frustrating to transform than some of the other takes on a larger Psykill themed robot. And like I said, so let's go ahead and pop his face out. Come on, face. Like I said, the Psykill face is just, for whatever reason, there's a corner of him that just doesn't want to pop out, at least easily. And there he is with his standard Bike Robo. He is technically Bike Robo. I feel like we should wrap with his Bike Robo face. Definitely very cool. Definitely fun to play with. Again, I do motorcycles and helicopters, I think I've said that before, are some of my favorite transformations. I really like how the bastards do it with the wheels in the shins. But Psykill has always been... Psykill and the old Cyclones, or the Mas Piata figures were those are my transforming motorcycle jams as a kid, and they both kind of had a similar physique in humanoid mode, where in Mas Piata they had the bikes, and then the armor would form up, and it kind of had, like, again, behind the head, but had the wheels up on the shoulders, and Psykill also had the wheels on the shoulders. So even though I do really dig the wheels and the shins transformation that some Transformers have had, the wheels up around or behind the shoulders, like Psykill and the old Cyclones, it just brings a lot of childhood nostalgia, and this figure really hits that. I'm really happy with him. There it is, Machine Robo from Action Toys, their DX Bike Robo.